My name is Ethan Cole, and 3 months ago I lost everything in less than 10 minutes. Not because I was bad at my job, not because I broke the rules, but because my boss needed someone to blame, and I was the easiest target. What he didn't realize was that firing me would become the biggest mistake of his life. I worked for 8 years at a logistics software company in Chicago called Harbridge Dynamics. We built inventory systems for major retail chains across the country. Nothing glamorous, just endless spreadsheets, late-night server crashes, and angry client calls. I started there when I was 26. Back then, the company was tiny, 30 employees, cheap coffee, broken chairs, big dreams. I helped build their entire analytics department from scratch. I missed birthdays, canceled vacations, worked weekends without overtime. And every year, my boss, Daniel Mercer, would look me in the eye and say, "Ethan, this company wouldn't survive without you." I believed him. That was my first mistake. Daniel was the kind of man who smiled while destroying people. Perfect suits, perfect hair, perfect fake charisma. Clients loved him, employees feared him. If something went wrong, he always found someone else to sacrifice. Usually quietly, usually strategically. But this time, the problem was too big to hide. One of our biggest clients suddenly terminated their contract. $3 million gone overnight. The board panicked. Investors started asking questions. And Daniel needed someone to take the fall. Guess who got called into his office on a Thursday morning? I remember every detail. The gray rain outside the windows, the smell of his expensive cologne, the HR woman sitting beside him refusing to make eye contact. Daniel folded his hands together like he was about to pray. "Ethan," he said calmly, "we discovered serious negligence in your reporting systems." I stared at him. "What?" He slid papers across the desk, fake audit reports, manipulated data, documents with my digital approval attached. Only one problem. I never approved them. My chest tightened. This isn't real. Daniel sighed dramatically. The board disagrees. I looked at HR. She stayed silent. Coward. "You're firing me for something I didn't do?" Daniel leaned back in his chair. "Sometimes leadership requires difficult decisions." That sentence changed my life. Security escorted me out like I was a criminal. 8 years, gone. No warning. No severance. No dignity. And the worst part, nobody from the office contacted me afterward. Not one person. People I worked beside for years suddenly acted like I never existed. Because fear spreads fast in corporate offices. That night, I sat in my apartment, staring at the city lights outside my window. Unemployment terrified me. Rent terrified me. But anger kept me awake. Something didn't make sense. Daniel framed me too quickly, too perfectly, which meant one thing. He planned this before the client contract collapsed. I started digging. At first it was just obsession. I went through old emails saved on my personal backups, spreadsheets, archived reports. Then I noticed something strange. Several financial projections had been altered weeks before the client left. Numbers inflated, losses hidden, forecasts manipulated, and every altered document traced back to Daniel's executive account. My heart started pounding. He wasn't covering up incompetence. He was covering up fraud. Over the next 2 weeks, I barely slept. I built timelines, compared files, cross-checked internal reports. The deeper I looked, the uglier it became. Daniel had been lying to investors for over a year. Fake growth numbers, hidden debt, fabricated performance metrics. And somehow, my credentials had been attached to several approvals. Was setting me up long before firing me. I should have walked away. Any sane person would. But revenge does strange things to you, especially when someone destroys your career to save themselves. Then something unexpected happened. I got a message from Olivia, one of the senior accountants at Harbridge. We weren't close friends, but we respected each other. Her text said, "Can we meet privately?" We met at a quiet diner outside downtown. She looked nervous the entire time. Finally, she whispered, "Daniel's deleting records." I froze. What? After you left, finance started finding inconsistencies. She slid a flash drive across the table. I copied files before they disappeared. I stared at the drive. Why help me? Her eyes filled with guilt. Because I knew you were innocent. That flash drive changed everything. Inside were internal financial statements, private executive emails, offshore payment records, and one email from Daniel himself. The subject line read, "Move responsibility to Ethan before Q4 review." My hands actually shook reading it. There it was. Proof. Clear. Direct. Cold-blooded. He planned my destruction in advance. At that moment, revenge stopped being emotional. It became strategic. I knew I couldn't just post the evidence online. Daniel had lawyers, money, connections. If I attacked recklessly, he'd bury me. So I made a different plan. I would destroy him legally, slowly, publicly, painfully. First, I contacted a journalist. Her name was Rebecca Lynn. She specialized in corporate corruption investigations. At first, she ignored me, until I sent one document. After that, she called within 20 minutes. "Where did you get this?" "That doesn't matter," I said. "What matters is that it's real." For the next month, we worked secretly. Rebecca verified everything, interviewed former employees, tracked hidden transactions. The story grew bigger and bigger. Meanwhile, Harbridge Dynamics kept pretending everything was normal. Daniel even posted motivational leadership quotes on LinkedIn while committing fraud. Behind the scenes. Psychopath. Then came the breaking point. Federal investigators became interested. Apparently hiding investor fraud attracts attention. Who knew? One morning, Rebecca called me sounding breathless. "They're opening an official investigation." I sat silently for a second. It was happening. Daniel still had no idea I was behind it. But pressure was building inside the company. Employees whispered constantly. Executives started resigning. Clients pulled contracts. Stockholders panicked. And then, Rebecca's article went live. The headline read, "Inside the Financial Manipulation Scandal at Harbridge Dynamics." Daniel's face was everywhere online. News stations picked it up within hours. Former employees started speaking publicly. More whistleblowers emerged. The company's investors demanded answers. By Friday afternoon, Harbridge stock collapsed. 37% in one day. I watched it happen from my apartment couch. Quietly, calmly, like watching a building burn after someone trapped you inside it. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Silence. Then Daniel's voice. "You did this." I smiled slightly. Leadership requires difficult decisions. Silence again. I could practically hear his rage breathing through the phone. "You think you'll survive this?" I laughed. "You already tried to destroy me." He hung up. 2 weeks later, federal agents raided Harbridge headquarters. Employees walked outside carrying boxes, while reporters crowded the sidewalks. Daniel resigned that same day, officially for personal reasons. Coward. But it got worse for him. Investigators uncovered hidden accounts overseas, tax violations, fraudulent reporting, evidence tampering. The board turned against him instantly. The same people who protected him suddenly acted shocked. Classic corporate behavior. A month later, Daniel Mercer was arrested. I watched the footage online. Suit wrinkled, face pale, no confident smile anymore. Just fear. Real fear. And for the first time in months, I finally breathed normally again. But revenge has a strange truth nobody talks about. It doesn't magically heal you. I still lost my career. My reputation took damage. Some companies refused to hire me because they feared controversy. For a while, bitterness consumed me. Then something unexpected happened. Rebecca introduced me to a tech startup founder who had read the investigation. Instead of seeing me as damaged, He saw me as someone who exposed corruption. He offered me a leadership position, better salary, better environment, no toxic executives. I almost cried during the interview, not because of the job, because somebody finally believed me again. Today my life looks completely different, better actually. Sometimes people ask if ruining Daniel's life was worth it. Honestly, no, he ruined his own life. I just refuse to die quietly for his mistakes. And if there's one thing I learned from all this, it's this. Loyalty means nothing to people who see human beings as disposable. Because the moment powerful people feel threatened, they will sacrifice anyone to save themselves. Even the people who built their empire. But sometimes, person they betray fights back. And when that happens, everything burns.